and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today we're talking about the top 10 longest prison sentences given to police officers. Before we get into this video, let me know what your favourite police drama is. I love Fargo and Orange is the New Black. Let me know all of those thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, if you guys want to connect with the creative team behind this video, then do check out the links in the description box. Alright, let's do this. Coming in at number 10, we have Mikhail Slager, who got 20 years. Now, this is a recent sentence and many are saying it's very just. This is for the former South Carolina police officer who shot and killed Walter Scott, an unarmed 50-year-old black man and former US Coast Guard. In April 2015, Slager pulled over Scott for a non-functioning brake light. Scott ran away from his vehicle, leading the officer to shoot him 8 times in the back. The incident, which took place in North Charleston, was captured on camera by a bystander who showed Officer Slager shooting Scott as he ran away. This contradicted his police report. Now, the murder generated widespread controversy as many people considered the killing to have been racially motivated. In December 2017, Slager was sentenced to 20 years in prison for second-degree murder. One of Scott's family attorneys said that the ruling was a historic day for civil rights. Coming in at number 9, we have Drew Peterson, who got 78 years. Drew Peterson was once named Police Officer of the Year, but in 2004 he murdered his ex-wife. His third wife, Kathleen Salvo, was found dead in a dry bathtub, and his fourth wife has been missing since 2007. At the time of her disappearance, fourth wife Stacy Peterson was 23 years old, 30 years her husband's junior. Peterson hasn't been charged with anything related to his fourth wife, who still hasn't been found, but he was found guilty and convicted of Savio's murder in 2012. Peterson used to work at a station in Bolingbrook, Illinois, but he is now likely to die in jail. He received 38 years for the murder of Salivo and a further 40 years as he tried to have the attorney in the case killed. What a guy. Peterson's defense team were concerned that he would be set upon by fellow inmates for being a former officer. I guess if you can't do the time, then you really shouldn't commit the crime. Coming in at number 8, we have Stephen Mitchell, who got life. Stephen Mitchell was a constable with Northumbria Police in the United Kingdom, and he seemingly abused vulnerable women he met while he was working. The 42-year-old was sentenced to life in jail in January 2011 for his actions that spanned several years. Originally from Glasgow, the cop raped and sexually abused heroin addicts, shoplifters, and disabled teenagers. He at first offered them help and then demanded sexual favors in return. Following the trial, it was revealed that Mitchell had been accused of sexual assault while he was in the army, and that while he was on his job, he was reprimanded for having sex with a woman he met on duty. One of his victims, a heroin addict, said that he said he would help her get her children back. When he wanted to have sex with her, he claimed that he would plant the drug on her if she said no. Convicted for 2 rapes, 3 indecent assaults, and 6 counts of misconduct in a public office, Mitchell may well never see the outside of a jail cell again. Next up, we have Ricardo Corral Venegas, who got 72 years. Ricardo Venegas was in the United States illegally when he sexually assaulted a woman in Aurora and attempted to assault another. The man, who was in his mid-20s at the time of his arrest, had originally been a police officer in Chihuahua in Mexico. He skipped the border after a warrant in his home country was issued for the rape of 5 women. Prosecutors sought to jail Venegas for 140 years for his crimes, which included breaking in and assaulting a woman at knife point with her 1-year-old son at the home. In the end, he was sentenced to 72 years. Next up, we have Darnell Garcia, who got 80 years. Darnell was a former DEA agent who was a criminal hiding in plain sight. He was once also a champion martial artist, which is basically a side note, but still weird. Anyway, he'd been working for the police since the late 1960s with a stint at LAPD. He later joined the DEA, but in the 1990s was sentenced to 80 years in prison for 5 counts of drug trafficking and money laundering. The jurors and judge were astounded by Garcia's lying abilities. The offense caused one of the biggest DEA scandals of all time. Interestingly, despite his long sentence, he's actually out of jail now. He served 21 years from 1990 to 2011 and is now on parole. Okay, this is insane. Up next, we have Mikhail Popkov, a serial killer who got life. This police officer turned to murder and is now considered to be one of the most prolific modern-day serial killers in Russia. Popkov was a police officer in the Irkutsk region of Russia, and he seemingly turned to murder because he thought his wife cheated on him. Not a good enough reason, mate. He is thought to have killed between 22 to 81 women between the ages of 17 and 38. Now, he killed females he considered to be immoral. Not only did the former police officer kill them, he heavily mutilated them first, leaving him being nicknamed the werewolf by Russian media. Despite having killed the most people on this list, he received your normal life sentence, likely without the chance of parole. That is Russia for you. They don't mess around with a ridiculous number of years, and they just kind of bang you up and leave you there. Next up, we have Abraham Joseph, who is serving 2 life sentences. Houston Police Department officer Abraham Joseph raped a woman while on duty in 2011. The 28-year-old was charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault for raping a cantina waitress that he detained and handcuffed in a dark park. The assault happened on the trunk of his police car while he was on duty. The tipping point was when other victims of Joseph's came forward to testify. It seemed that he preyed on illegal immigrants in the United States, utilizing their immigration status as blackmail. Joseph was given 2 life sentences with the eligibility for parole in 30 years' time. Coming into number 3, we have Curtis Thornton with 100 years. Birmingham, Alabama police officer Curtis Thornton was sentenced to 100 years in prison for committing arson. It seems that the disgraced former officer set 4 fires in Warrior after he lost his home to a tornado in 2011. He also seemed to set 2 fires in the community of Ensley. It seems that the 28-year-old officer was heard saying, "I'll tell everyone in this court to kiss my ass before I apologize or ask for mercy." Great. Basically, that sentiment got him a sentence of 100 years. Now, he was sentenced in July 2013, and it's longer than most murder sentences. According to the judge, this is because the man was a serial arsonist. Coming in at number 2, we have the longest a police officer has ever been sentenced to time. This is also one of the longest sentences ever given in history. That's right, at number 2 we have Daniel Holtzclaw, who got 263 years. Holtzclaw of the Oklahoma City Police Department was convicted of multiple counts of rape and sexual battery in 2015. The then 29-year-old patrol officer abused 8 different women, using his position to run background checks to find information on vulnerable females that could be used to coerce them into sex. What a guy. All of the women he assaulted were of African American descent. Now, while the cop has always protested his innocence, he was found guilty and was convicted of 18 out of 36 charges, totaling jail time of 263 years. So I know that our number 2 received the most time, but our number 1 is a pretty intense story of a police officer who turned corrupt. This woman will end up paying with her life. Coming in to number 1, we have Antionette Frank, who got the death penalty. Antionette Frank was a New Orleans police officer and is now one of just 2 women on death row in Louisiana. Frank and an accomplice committed an armed robbery at a restaurant in New Orleans that resulted in the death of 2 of the owners and the death of a fellow police officer. The incident happened in 1995, just 2 years after Frank joined the force. Now, there were a lot of red flags in her hiring process, but she was employed by the NOPD anyway due to staff shortages. She met boyfriend and accomplice drug dealer Rogers Lassaze on the job. The pair hit up a local Vietnamese restaurant that Frank sometimes worked at as a security guard when she was off duty. Now, a lot of people do think that Frank didn't receive a fair trial and that she should not actually be on death row. Nonetheless, she has already been incarcerated for over 20 years and her death sentence doesn't look like it will be overturned anytime soon. So guys, what a bunch of corrupt cops. What did you think to this list? Let me know in the comments section down below. Also, do let me know if you want us to continue making police and jail top 10s. I know that they've been very popular. Are you loving them? Before I go, I should read out some comments from my top 10 scary sounds from outer space that should have stayed secret. CryoShot1 said, "Is it just me or did anyone also think of Predator when that singing comet part came?" I did too. Umar Kiani said, "Rebecca's my favorite host, but I stopped the video at number 2 because it's scary." Honestly, I was really scared writing the list, so I don't blame you. Timothy Zimmerman had a really interesting comment. He said, "Okay, so I just noticed something creepy. In Stranger Things, can't wait for season 3, in the background of the Upside Down, you can hear something that sounds like like Saturn. Maybe you've exposed it all. Maybe that's the plot of season 3. Maybe the Upside Down is a parallel universe, or Saturn, or one of Saturn's moons. Also, a lot of you guys pointed out that there was an error at number 1. Instead of hearing sounds from Titan, you heard a murder confession. Creepy. Sometimes these things happen, and I'm really, really sorry. We will do better next time. For now, thank you for tuning into this video. I'm your host, Rebecca Felgate. Make sure you leave it with a good thumbs up, share with a friend, and stay subscribed for more most amazing lists.